Harshit, can you go to the first slide?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Hey guys, thanks a lot for joining in. So we have Harshit here. He's a product manager at Paytm, and what he'll do in this session is give an idea about where current opportunities are in product and product related roles. So he comes from a gaming background. He has worked in companies like Dream 11 and MPL before this, and he has an experience of interviewing a lot of candidates over the years. So he has an idea of what exactly works in interviews, and he has observed where people usually make mistakes. So this session will be more about where the current opportunities are in product and how you can prepare yourself, and if you get an opportunity to interview, how you can make the most of it and not lose out on that opportunity. So great, I'll hand it over to Harshit. Harshit, you can start now. Thanks for joining in again, and please take it ahead.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for inviting me here. It's a pleasure. I want to understand how many people are viewing currently.
So we have about 76 people live,
Okay.
and so based on the form that people had filled regarding like while registering for the event, most of them are in final year in college, mostly in engineering, a few people in MBA college, and there are a few like early grads also, like 0 to 2 year experience. So just to give you an idea of the crowd we have.
Okay. That's great. That's great. So welcome everyone. I just wanted to highlight certain basic concepts with respect to product management and how you could enter and how you could uh, basically talking about first principle, how you can manage yourself as a product manager. If you are not a product manager currently, how you can get a step ahead into the game, and how you can prepare yourself better to crack interviews, to understand what product management essentially means and what do they seek in a candidate. So this is a basic guide to understand the psyche of the product managers who are hiring. And the first thing that I would want to highlight through this is that the current scope for product management is huge, and there hasn't been a, a dip that people anticipated because of certain businesses taking off even during Corona period, and certain segments flourishing during Corona period, all thanks to the online presence of these products that were built to survive and to last even such crises. I will take one by one. First example being payment and fintech services. We've seen an uptick in online transactions, especially UPI and related transactions in the payment sector after March onwards in India in major metropolitan cities. The offline transactions has reduced obviously, but the online transactions gives a hope that the thing that we saw during demonetization and stuff can repeat, and people can go back to doing everything online. The fintech services would be services which adhere to the finance industry. Example being, there are websites like Policy Bazaar which sell more insurances now than offline, and it has happened only during Corona period. Before March this year, the number of insurances that were being sold in India offline were more than online insurances. Now, the reason being the fintech services is doing wonders is because it's all online. People can track it even while sitting at home, which is the need of the hour. Same thing has happened in content, whether be text like WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter, audio and video. Video, everybody knows how subscription base has increased for Amazon Prime and Netflix, and even OTT providers in India like Voot, etc. Gaming has seen an uptake since last 2.5 years, but in Corona, it has seen it's an adrenaline rush right now. Uh, companies which were into esports, especially casual gaming and easy games which you can learn very easily and come on board and play, like PUBG, have killed it in India. Supply chain is a backend of sorts for front end, which is e-commerce and all the distribution that happens in your shops. So supply chain also is very important to note that it has also actually seen an uptick during Corona period. Uh, Examples are Porter and certain companies which do mobility throughout India, interstate mobility, and it is very important to understand that supply chain earlier used to happen without tech, and now it is happening with the help of tech. So it needs a lot of product management. Health and safety is a no-brainer. We have already seen a lot of health apps like DocTalk and stuff which are working in India, but there will be more, force on health and safety, and we will see a lot many more products in the coming years. Uh, there are many other cases as well. I will not deep dive into these type of industries specifically because I just wanted to highlight a very specific point is that there is scope for product management now. There has been a slight dip in the total number of recruitments that were happening in startups, but it has not gone down. There are still there are still requirements of the industry, and most of the hiring freeze that you see are temporary. After a certain period of time, companies will assess their overall balance sheets and will figure out a way to come up with a strategy how to hire better. And the two specific areas which will see an upsurge in hiring, the number one area would be tech, because everything has to be tech now. So people who are coders, designers, developers, they will be sought after in a very high demand. And the next thing would be business analysts and product managers, because they are the ones who are going to make stuff happen. So this is something which I have immense hope. And with the current data that I'm seeing currently in Paytm, we have hired roughly close to 100 people after the Corona period, after the in the recent 1 month basically. So we see a lot of scope for product managers, and industry will not dry out. People will not stop businesses. People will not stop things from happening. So there will always be need to build better products. There will always be need to work for more. Any questions, guys?
I think we don't have any questions so far. Maybe like after 15 guys, if you have any questions, like put it on the chat, and like maybe we'll take a break after 10-15 minutes to address those questions. But right now we don't have any questions.
Yeah, keep the questions coming, because it has to be an interactive session in the end for people to understand that product management is something that is I'll come to that later on. So let me just go ahead and understand and give you the objective of this the session that we are having currently. So the one thing that I want to make it very clear, that we are only choosing one approach, that is to clear the interviews and to grab the interviewer's attention right from the start. That has to be the goal, and from that goal we will divide our problems back into how you should mold your career, mold your thought process, the way you think a job needs to be done. These are certain very basic elements of cracking how to become a product manager. Because in a product manager, the most important attributes are uh, the three that I've mentioned here. Data-backed decisions. You need to be very clear with respect to what is the decision that you are going to take. And in order for you to be clear, you need to have some hypothesis which you are chasing. And in order to make a hypothesis, you need to understand data as a business analyst. It's a business analysis problem that you need to solve, and you need to come up with certain insights through which you will make your hypothesis. So it's all very data backed decisions, which creates a sort of uh, a mixture which makes you a better product manager. The second thing would be crisp choice of words. There are too many things which have happened in the world of product management so far. It's not a new industry. It's not a new job position anymore. We have evolved from a person who would just work with a technocrat and solve for a better product. Currently, there are too many uh, basic syllabus available, basic texts available to understand how to do your job better as a product manager. And that requires you to understand certain products, certain words. Those words are uh, daily active user base. Daily active user base is usually called DAU, DAU, and it's measured for every mobile app or a website that you build for a consumer. It is mostly for a consumer internet business, because you want to understand how many users are launching your app in a particular day. So daily active users is one thing. Then there are words like retention. Retention obviously means how many people get retained over a period of time. So then time becomes important. So there are many words like month on month retention, week on week retention, day on day retention, day 30 retention, D7 retention. All these things are basically uh, it's just a cohort. It's just so cohort is another word. So cohort is just a bunch of people. It's just a group of people which has certain similar characteristics. Characteristic could be that all these people have joined or signed up in the last 1 month. That could be one cohort. D7 cohort, as I mentioned earlier, is the number of people who had signed up in the last 7 days, like on the seventh day, D minus 7 day. So they have all been a member of this particular app or website for the last 7 days exactly. So that would be their D7. And how many people get retained till the seventh day is called D7 retention. And if you take an average of last 4 to 5 weeks, you will see that you will say that the D7 average retention for this particular app is 25% or 50%. So these are certain words that you need to understand the definitions of. Am I still live?
Yes, you're still live.
Okay. So then the third thing is clear thoughts and logic. This is something which is easier said than done. This there's no one line in which I can explain these things in totality, but you understand the gist, that provide a simple unifying message for what is to come. Like if you are tackling a problem, you need to come up with a step-by-step approach so that you can clearly lay down your path, the way you're thinking, the way you're approaching a problem, or the way you're approaching a particular job. So this is a very important attribute if you're approaching a company to crack a product management position. Now I'll go to the basic question that we all want to ask here. What is the exact skill that you need to know to communicate with the interviewer? Like when do you think that you will be done? When do you think that okay, now you are ready for an interview? Now you can give it your 100%. This is where I think the most important uh, essence of a particular product manager that I feel is thought leadership. Thought leadership is something which can be inculcated in your brain once you understand how you grasp information and you process them. This is all about grasping information and processing. Your own way of thinking cannot be molded by anyone but your own self. So you need to have a command over concepts. You need to have your own way of thinking, which will lead you to a better interview process, or even which can land you a good job. There we can take help from case studies, because case studies have usually helped a lot of business thinkers and in fact product thinkers as well, of understanding a problem and then figuring out a solution, a potential solution to a problem. And this is way easier said than done, because uh, if something sounds very commonsensical to you, people usually ignore it. People usually think that, okay, no, it has to be a complicated answer where I look smart. But no, it's not that way in most of the cases. This is why I think that we need to go back to first principles. We need to understand the basic tenets of a particular problem before we try to solve it. And by thought leadership, I mean the same. And this is something which is very critical in a product manager. And I feel that every good product manager is a thought leader in himself. And they do usually well in other areas also, because of the same thing, that they understand how to process a lot of information, and come up with intelligent approaches of dealing with a certain problem. This is what I call thought leadership. Now, as Jerin had mentioned, that a lot of usually what happens is that I have interviewed a lot of people in the past 1 year or so, and I've felt that a lot of people usually do similar type of mistakes. And every individual is unique in their thinking process, but still the mistakes are similar. And this is what makes me do these type of activities. And this is why even I would want to help people get better at the game of cracking an interview. Because if you constantly do similar mistakes, then what it means is that there is something which is lacking in the education that has happened before in the past. And that is why it's very important to understand these concepts uh, of tackling a particular problem. Why do something is a question. First of all, you need to understand every interview process will give you a certain test or a certain case study to solve, or a puzzle, or something or the other to solve. And understand why is it required, why do you need to do it. You need to come up with certain questions of your own. Second is, if you come up with a solution, human brains are tricky that way, that if you're given a problem, uh, you more or less come up with a solution of your own. And even if you don't, you think that, okay, this is what I have thought, and this is after looking at 5 solutions on the internet, I can come up with this theory that my solution, which is solution number 3, is the best solution amongst all. And this is where people feel entitled, that okay, this has come from my brain, and then they try to prove that why this answer is the best answer. Now, this is a mistake that I have seen in a lot of people. It actually should not happen that way. That if you have gone on a path, and in that path you are seeing a lot of challenges, you either try to you know um, take yourself through those challenges and try to solve them on the way, or you go back to the first step that you took, and you understand again, okay, what if I did not take this path, what if I try another way. So this is something, it's a mental exercise that we need to do while we are solving for a particular problem. Not at the time of interview, I would I assume that it needs to happen before you're actually during an interview, and it needs to happen through the process of preparing. And this is the 3 questions that you need to answer each time you are solving a problem or a case study. Why are you doing something? What is the pain your cure will you will cure with your solution? And the final thing is, how will you measure the impact? And now all these 3 things, when you try to answer them, you will find that your mistakes that you were doing, they are coming up, and you will yourself identify, okay, this was the mistake that I was doing initially, now I should go back to my first principle, I should start again, and I should try to finish this problem again. This is something which is very important to understand. And why, what, and how are the basic tenets of the thought leadership that I was mentioning earlier. So this is
Harshit,
something.
We have a lot of questions. So
Oh, great.
most of the questions are around you know trying to get into that first PM role, and so I'll take a few questions. Can we do that now?
Yeah, sure. I
Yeah,
will come back to the usual mistakes that people do. In the meantime, we can take questions.
right. So one question. Uh, Let me check again. I missed that. Yeah. So how one question asked by Gaurav is that how do we show data backed decision making in our resume? Like, so the resume is the first step to get shortlisted, right?
Yes,
Even
good
before
point.
an
Good
interview.
point.
So how can you reflect that in your resume?
Hmm. So, the best way to give an insight of data backed decision making in your resume is if you've already taken some decisions in your past, in your previous role, or whichever role that you have done, which you are currently pursuing. If you have taken certain decisions, you can always find out numerical answers, like numbers which prompted you to do certain actions and take certain decisions. That is something which should happen, which should be clearly written in your resume, that your objective was to solve for such and such problem. What I see in the resumes mostly is that people don't write numbers, people don't write exactly what was the percentage of certain thing that they were trying to solve, and then when they solved it, it increased or decreased from this percentage to that percentage. It has to be that clear, and no faking, because people understand when you fake. So you have to you would have actually taken certain decisions in your past which you are explaining through your resume now. So that has to be very clear. uh, this is case number one, where you have actually taken some decisions in your past. Case number two is you currently are pursuing a certain job, or currently studying, so you have not taken any business decisions. In this case, you cannot actually tell an interviewer that you have taken data backed decisions, because you haven't. So be very truthful, and it it is it is not a bad idea to say that, okay, I was doing a business analytics job before interviewing with your company, and I have I was doing reporting, I was doing PowerPoint presentations, and I was doing a really good business analysis of certain businesses that were coming across my way, but I have not taken any decisions myself, and that is what I would like to learn. I'm good at
Got it.
So I'm good at certain things, and I will improve on it. So this is something that it should be very crisp and clear in your resume.
Right. So another question from Ayush is that does learning about system design help in an interview? Is it necessary in an APM interview?
Yeah. So it depends the kind of role that you are trying to get in. Uh, Product management in itself is a very vast field, and I'll come to the types of product managers. There are basically three types of product managers. One who are good at technical aspects of managing a product, one who are good at growth and acquisition and everything which caters to scale and getting larger audiences, trying to click them to sign up and stuff like that. They are usually user acquisition and growth managers. Then the third ones are the ones which are good at retaining the users, retention, the customer lifecycle management, and other attributes that a product needs. So there are these three types of product managers, and only one of them requires in-depth technical knowledge of the back end of the product, is the technical product manager. The other two are, I would say, it always helps to have an understanding of the tech behind the product, but for the other two types of managers, it's not a prerequisite.
Right. So again, we have a lot of questions around switching from either a software role or a growth role or a business role to PM roles. So like what is expected of someone who's making this switch, like, and first of all, is it possible, like, to make a switch from software or data science to product, and like business to product, and like what is expected of them?
I'll go back to this slide because this is exactly the question that I was answering. The real crux is to clear the interviews, and this is the only way you can uh, you know solve that problem of switching from one kind of career to the other kind of career. And this is how you grab interviews attention. So this is the part where you have already been selected for an interview. I have not covered the part where you need to make a better resume here, but I'm assuming that if I work with a certain students, certain people personally, I can give advice on a personal resume making on a one-to-one basis, because that is something which is a lot in depth, and it will only help if I know the person's exact resume and what he has done in the past, he or she, because that is a very personalized way of making a resume is always something which is a flamboyant one pager on whatever you want to portray about yourself, and it has to be very crisp, it has to be with pointers and highlights which clearly gives in 3 seconds, if I can glance at a resume and I can see at least one or two spike as in one or two things which I see highlighted, and I just quickly catch on to that, okay, this is the thing that I wanted and this is there in the resume. Those are the things that we can deep dive later on on a one-on-one basis. But assuming that you have cleared the resume round, and you have actually come with an interviewer, and you want to get selected, and this is the only way to jump from one position to the other. All the other answers that you get, do an MBA, join this, join that, it's all, in my opinion, bullshit, because ultimately, even after doing an MBA, you have to clear the interview, grab the interviewer's attention right from the start, show your expertise on data backed decisions, show your expertise on the choice of words or clear thoughts and logic and stuff. So this is the crux. I think this is where I started, and this is all you need to know to either shift your career, mold your career into product management, or even start as a product analyst. If you're studying, if somebody is a student who does not want to pursue the tech direction that he has pursued so far, and he or she wants to join as a product analyst in a young startup, I think this is the approach. This is the only one approach that I can figure out.
Right. So again, that a lot again brings us to the next thing, the question that is being asked, like, as a student, if they have 6 months left for placements, or 1 year to find a job in product, or a product analyst, so what is it that they can do right now? I mean, I think, are you going to cover that, like going to go into that? Then we can probably head there.
Okay, so for all the students who are in their third year or final year, and just trying to approach a lot of companies during placements, I would suggest that there are 3 ways you can approach a product management role. I have seen a lot of people who are into business development and ops related jobs, which say they are product roles, which is a very bad way of presenting a role, because majority of the roles that young students get hired into, they are glorified business operations roles, and people call it product management. I would like you to identify product management roles and try to refrain yourself from applying into these type of roles, because, or make a decision that you want to go ahead with these type of roles. This is the first. The second thing is, the product role is a niche role. It usually does not happen that you would get a young candidate who has not built a product of his or her own and gets into product management directly from college. It usually never happens because you need a certain level of expertise to come up with a thought leadership kind of a thinking model, because your brain is not yet, you haven't yourself experienced the life cycle of a product, how to manage a product from scratch. So then you would not be having a lot of skills required to show the thought leadership that is needed for a product manager to showcase. And that is why, if you directly want to pursue product management, the best way is to build a product of your own. There have been many cases of young students. Currently I've heard about an app called Mitro being developed by IIT Roorkee fellow. uh, in my own days, there was a guy who built a product called Date IITians, and there are many such products that people keep building out of their dorm rooms and hostels. So that's not something that I feel it's a very impossible thing to achieve. But this is the only way for a student to showcase that yes, I am good at product management because I have built product of my own. Otherwise, there's no way of knowing whether you can be good at it, right? With your acads, I would really judge whether you are laborious, whether you are, good and intelligent, good with your studies and intelligent. With your extracurriculars, I would understand whether you are, you can do 5 things at one time and you're good at parallel processing and stuff like that, and many more. But the product management is a niche job to do, and for a young student, he would be taken in a product analyst role where he would be a business analyst inside a product team. Now what is that? Product team usually comprises of 10 to 15 product managers in a usual setup, like a small time startup. In firms like Swiggy, they are roughly around 50. So assuming Swiggy has around 50 product manager and product analyst in a team. So in that particular team, there would be a lot of work that would need constant data crunching and some sort of decision making, which is not exactly as high as the requirement is as not as high as a data science job. So what they would do is they would hire smart engineers fresh out of college to do that kind of number crunching for them, and then train them eventually for being a junior or associate product manager. So this is the kind of hiring that usually happens. And if you're asking how to get in a product analyst role, then that is a slight deviation from the current slide that I'm having, because in the current slide I'm assuming that everybody wants to go for product management. Now if you want to go for product analyst, then obviously data backed decisions, crisp choice of words, and clear thoughts and logic is totally relevant over here. The only difference lies in this life cycle of a product, because from here you will be doing a lot of things of market analysis. You will be doing a lot of you know test selling type of activities. You will be doing a lot of prototyping type of thing would be not given to you because you are a business analyst right now. A prototype will be developed by a product manager, and then you will be doing the other managing part of it. So this is where the difference lies in a product analyst and a product management. You will be getting exposure, but you will not be able to do or make those decisions yourself. But still, it's not a bad thing to get into if you're into college right now and you're thinking of maneuvering your career towards product.
Got it. I think we can go ahead like with the slides.
Yeah, so it was a good question actually, because now I understand that a lot of people would be very keen on applying to those product analyst roles, which usually all the startups generally go to IITs and NITs and a lot of other engineering colleges to open.
I think majority, like many of the new startups might not even go to college, so you'll have to apply offline for these roles.
I would. I think it's too soon to say what will happen, because I think I've already seen in Paytm that we will usually, we usually refrain from going to universities, but we do hire freshers who have done even like 6 to 8 months of work somewhere else, or 1 year of work somewhere else, and people apply, and that's something which is very easy to do. Even after you get a job from your through your college, you still keep applying, right? So this is I don't think this will have a major issue. The major issue would be, I think the overall mobility will be very low. I think after corona, a lot of people might not go to colleges anymore, and they will keep doing their online tests and interview sessions.
Right, right.
Yeah, so coming back to the usual mistakes that people do. So what I was saying was that while preparing for an interview, you need to understand that your role is a very well crafted role. It requires you to do number crunching, it requires you to manage a particular product on a day to day basis, and it requires you to understand the basic philosophy of the product, why we are doing certain things, why is it done in a particular fashion, and so on and so forth. So these things are tested at the time of an interview through basic behavioral gestures, or outputs that we can get by just seeing a particular interviewee. And the answer that we want from a particular interviewee is these three answers: why is he doing certain things, what is the pain that you cure with your solution, and how will you measure the impact. These are the three ways of these are the three questions in which you can frame all your future design problems, your future feature buildings, and all the things that you do before any major app update comes in. You would have a lot of people would have been annoyed with the app updates that keep coming in, and you have to constantly update the app. And this is the three questions that you will see on the description of the change that people usually put in. So I have a habit of answering all these three questions whenever I'm launching an app.
Right.
What will you see? You will see some bug fixes, you will see certain solution to this problem, you will see certain solution to this problem, and in the background I will be measuring the impact also, because in the background I'll be checking whether this feature is working or not, how many people are actually going ahead and clicking on that button, whatever that is created. So this is something which you need to be very well versed with or thorough with when you are attacking any problem. So even if you're a student in college right now, you need to understand that creating or building a product is also something which requires you to solve these three questions. And how will you prepare? The answer is, be very systematic with your thoughts. If you are trying to attack a big problem, for example, if I ask you to guess the total number of passengers that might be present in any day, or like the number of people who would be coming in or going out from Indira Gandhi International Airport, which is in Delhi. Now, this is a problem which a lot of people
Wait,
will be like,
like a guesstimate round, right?
yeah. So it's a guesstimate. Yeah, it's a guesstimate which usually does not need you to come to an answer, but it needs you to come up with a thought, a systematic thought process. How do you break down this problem into sub problems? And there might be certain sub problems which you already know the answer to, and this is how you will showcase that you understand data. You have, in your lifetime till now, you have understood data, and this is the best time, if somebody asks you questions like that, to present a structure first, in which you will explain, okay, this is the way I'm going to divide this problem, and this is the sub problems that I have with this main problem, and during which you might get stuck somewhere, and it's not a big problem if you ask a pinpointed question back to the interviewer. For example, you could ask a very pinpointed question where you could uh, clearly understand what the interviewer is actually asking you. And this is a very tricky way, but the basic tenet remains same, that if you have systematic thoughts, you can break a problem into sub problems and you can tackle those sub problems very easily. Then the second part here is the grasp of language used. I've constantly told everyone that uh, the language that you use during your interviews or even while solving problems like guesstimate is very crucial, because the question that you will be asking, the kind of structure that you will be using to solve a particular problem, it's all words. And when you know what type of words are actually you in command of, you will actually serve yourself better while speaking. Then the final thing is, if you have systematic thoughts, clear logic is a no-brainer. It's the same thing. And understanding of concepts. Basically, now here, if you're asked a guesstimate question, this is actually one of the important features of guesstimate. That now it's a very basic question, but you will be tested on your concepts of how do you measure, a particular number that I'm asking you to measure. Do you go by the number of planes coming in and out? Do you assume by some statistic that you already know of? So these are the things which make an interviewer understand how well versed are you with certain concepts. So this is the way in which you need to prepare. You need to understand what a guesstimate is. Just solve some guesstimate problems, and you will understand okay how to tackle it. But here also, it's important to know whether the direction that you're going ahead with is correct or not. So then you need to have a mentor who understands, or who can train you into the ways of the logical and data based thinking. So these are the basic mistakes that people do. People usually I do not usually have a lot of scrutiny during the resume, but and this is usually what we have seen in the industry, that uh, resumes are generally very bad for entry level positions, and we usually do not go very deep into resumes. We usually try to get interviews done, because what we have seen is that a lot of people just make bad resumes. And it's a thing which is well known. If you make a good resume, it's obviously going to score well for you. But what I've seen is that people generally make very bad resumes. So that's something which is something that I'm not going to touch anymore. Now, after understanding the questions that you need to answer, you will come up with the mistakes that you're doing. And once you understand what mistakes you are doing, the only way to answer is to solve those things via mock interviews, to solve those things via a proper strategic approach to tackling an interview. And the best thing is, I think what I've understood is that if you overcome a translation barrier, uh, you do yourself a service.
Right.
Any more questions?
I think most of it has been answered. Like a few others I'll pick up are like, is there any, Anjesh is asking, how did you become a PM? Is there any specific course that people can do? And another question again around Paytm and Dream11 is that like what does a day in the life of a PM in Paytm or Dream11 like? So Rishabh has asked that.
Okay, so two questions. One is how did I become a product manager, and what is the journey in Dream11 and Paytm?
Right. And another question about like courses, or like, so you mentioned like a systematic approach. So I mean, like, what is that approach like? I mean, if not a course, like what can people do? Like, let's say if it's like a 2-month plan or a 3-month plan, like what should they do? What are the steps they should follow?
Okay. So, answering the first part, I graduated from IIT Kanpur and then joined banking because that was something I was keen on while I was studying. And I was a business analyst into decision sciences team in American Express and HSBC before. But then at that particular time, Flipkart was booming. There were a lot many other small startups that were coming up. Paytm was a very small startup then when I was, trying to transition into product management. And at that time, my interview processes were purely like I had given 3 interviews, and my interview processes were purely technical. They used to ask me, I used to do business modeling. So, and mathematical modeling is very common in banking. So, we used to do mathematical models. So my majority of the questions used to be around how do you solve this problem, how do you solve that problem. Even puzzles used to be asked, uh, and that is how I cracked an interview in a small e-commerce startup, and I became an associate product manager there. I had very less understanding of product management, so to speak, but then I joined in a product team. So in the product team, there were product managers who eventually trained me, and eventually I got to know more about tech on the job, um, and this is how things went ahead. In Dream 11, I handled uh, the function of uh, referrals and retention. So any program that would need referrals and anything which had to do with social layer in gaming, in Dream 11, it used to come to me. It used to fall on me. So a lot of features that were built during 2015-16 in Dream 11 used to be done by my team. And work culture is very good. I would suggest a lot of people who are keen on applying and who are very good sport enthusiasts who understand cricket or football um, through the lens of data and not playing, but number crunching and data understanding of cricket and football. They do really well in Dream 11. So uh, that's something about Dream 11. Uh, Coming to the second question, currently I'm thinking of helping students or people who want to move to product management. So I've curated a small 15 class workshop which you can all participate in if you want. It will have 15 classes over a period of 50 days, which will have 3 sections. The first 9 classes will be all about teaching the basics of product management, which will cover acquisitions and marketing, retention, and customer lifecycle management, and how do product managers do these things. Like how does one, start from uh, acquiring users to making features which will acquire users through the product, to eventually building features which will help in retention, to building an actual core loop in the product life cycle, which will be called customer life cycle. So it's all built in by thorough understanding of what consumers want and what uh, needs to be built, and that is something which can be learned. And this is how I learned it, and this is how people can learn it, by understanding a lot of case studies which I have been really passionate about understanding certain things through case studies. And I see that if you understand something by solving a case, it gets retained in your brain for quite a long period of time. It's like a story that you tell yourself. So uh, I've curated a lot of case studies also on acquisition, retention, and tech side of problem solving in product management. So you all can participate in that workshop to understand a bit more on these things. I'll be sharing my number with you guys, so you can directly contact me there. Apart from that, I think one of the best approaches to solve for this is through mock interviews. And it's needless to say that practice makes a man perfect, but mock interviews, what it usually does is it trains you. It trains your brain for feedback, and you keep getting feedback again and again and again and again. And one day, the day that you have to actually perform, you do it. I'll just take some time and give you an example of Michael Phelps. I think people know him because he's a great swimmer and he has won the maximum number of gold medals in Olympics. And the best thing about him is that uh, when he started training, he always used to train for the end objective. So suppose if he knows that his that one final swim that is going to happen between a time of 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., he would try to manage his whole biological clock for that 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. swim. And every day he would do that swim, even while training. He will think that that is his final swim that he has to do on the day, and he keeps doing it for a period of very long period of like 6 to 8 months. And then when he finally goes in for that jump, he has already done it so many days well in advance, every day, with the same mindset, with the same thought process, that it's not a new thing for him to do it again. And he does this as fluently as he has been doing it for the past many days, and that's how he has won many gold medals. So that is one example which I really really like. Anyways, moving ahead.
Right. So I just one more question. So Gaurav has asked, what kind of side projects or products are best to show expertise? And yeah.
So first is, if you haven't built a product yourself, or if you haven't been involved in a product role before, the best way is to understand other products that are developing and that you are using. One of the questions that I often ask a person when I don't see any product experience before is, what products does he or she use in his day-to-day life. And when I get to see how do they come up with uh, 5 things that they like about the product, or 5 things that they hate about the product, and 1 or 2 things that they think or feel that this product needs an improvement in. These are certain things which are very meaningful in understanding how do you think, how do you decide why you're using certain products. So this is something which is a regular exercise. Everybody can do it. Understand the products that you are using in a better way. So for example, often my mother asks me, why do I use Zoom when I have WhatsApp video calling feature? And I have to tell her that in WhatsApp video call, you cannot call 5 or more people. It has a capping of 4 only. So that is something which only comes with in-depth understanding of a product, that you understand what are the limitations of those products. For example, how do you know whether somebody is seeing your comment without knowing, without even if there is if there is no blue tick, because the person can switch off showing you the blue tick or not, but still you can understand that because there is a hack available in WhatsApp. So these are certain things that catch my attention when I talk to people about the products that they like or dislike. So these are some attention to detail things which come up when you use a product thoroughly, and if you try to understand how that product works, you find out these fine details.
Great. I think we can move ahead.
Sure. Any other question?
Yeah, I think we can take other questions at the end.
I think this is the end for me right now, because then after this, there has to be a very thorough understanding of product, which is a little, it needs a little detail. So this is a product life cycle, which has steps from concept to how do you know whether the product is ready to be built. Why do you need to build a product? So these are the steps that you take to understand. First you do test, problem and solution. So test, problem and solution is you figure out a problem. If you don't understand what is an exact problem, you just take a problem in the beginning and try to come up with solutions. Then you do market analysis and understand how many people are actually solving for this problem, for this problem, for this problem. And then eventually you do a prototype. And once you do a prototype, you actually show it to people and understand whether this prototype that you have built will work or not. And then you will do positioning. Where do you want to launch? When do you want to launch? How do you want to launch? Then you do some test selling. For example, you make product for a beta or a closed beta, and you share it with certain people, and you try to understand whether this particular thing is working or not. And then you go for an overall build, like then you go for building that product finally, and then you launch. So when you launch for the first time, it's something of a very rough sketch that you do initially, and you try to paint on it. So it will be a little I think the correct word for it is that it will not be a finished product, so it will need a lot of finishing. So a minimum viable product is something which is done with a minimum level of finishing. Once you do a minimum level of finishing required for you to just showcase it to others, that's called minimum viable product. Then you do an extended MVP, you do the same thing again. And then after an extended MVP, you understand the basic problems that you are trying to solve, and why you are unable to solve so and so problem, and why you are unable to solve XYZ. And then you do again a little market analysis, check feasibility, do a proper positioning, do a test selling, and then build again, and then solve for a viable product. So this is the overall life cycle of a product from a product manager's angle. But since a lot of you are applying for a product analyst role, I would suggest that you know mm, need need of the hour is to understand the thing in detail. And obviously it cannot be covered in a class where there's just one person speaking and a lot of theory to cover. So I will just like to say that whoever is very keen on understanding the basic tenets of product management and how to go about cracking an interview, uh, I will just share my phone number with you. Just try to reach out to me on WhatsApp. uh,
I have a question. If you have any link or anything, so I can share your number and ask people to reach out directly. Is that fine?
I'll share my email address and my phone number as well.
Okay,
So,
great.
because I'm just starting with this, a workshop was one of the ways of explaining how you can actually mold your career into product management. There are various ways in which you can mold your career into product management. Don't be disheartened with this situation that we are stuck in. Um, it's a temporary thing, and people will move on. There is still a lot to be built, and you know product management is a very niche field, but it still requires people to come in and join and build it. We are just starting with our IT revolution, so to speak.
Right.
It's much more to be done.
And I think, like you mentioned at the beginning, those industries are even actively hiring right now.
Yes,
And
yes.
like it's not like there are no opportunities.
Yeah, there are a lot of companies which are hiring right now, and in fact, some are doing more. The hiring is a very tricky thing, because a lot of people usually cannot hire during a normal period. So what companies like Paytm have done is that they are pursuing very hard to try and acquire as much talent as possible during Corona, because a lot of people will be shifting, they will be unsure, many people will be changing jobs, because it's such a time, and hence I feel that current scope for product management role is huge.
Right. So great. Before like we wrap it up, so like few questions about the workshop are coming in. So can you like maybe go over it again, like what will be included in the program you are
Yeah.
running?
So, for those of you who reach out to me via mail, I will send you a detailed mail on it. But for now, since I have no material to provide as of now, I'm still on the process of making the materials. The workshop will be a 15 hour workshop divided into 15 different slots. First 9 slots will be purely on the scope for product management theory. So here, just like I'm showing you the basic tenets of product management and how do you build a product, how do you come up with a particular solution. So just an example, when we were building MPL is Mobile Premier League. It's a gaming platform where a lot of games are packed into one single app, and it's an app only platform. So you can download the app and you can play. And when the concept was in the initial stages of development, the founder came to me. I was still in Bombay, and we had a discussion over a cup of coffee, and he was telling me a lot of things that he were in his mind. And this is how he approached his problem. This is exactly how he started. He had a concept. He had many test problems and solutions which he wanted to solve through the product. But during market analysis, what he understood is that not all problems needs to be solved in the one first build that he has to make in the first go. So he understood what are the problems that he needs to solve in the first build itself, and what are the problems that he can solve later on. So then we went ahead and checked the feasibility while prototyping. I was involved in the initial prototyping process of MPL. And unless you do a basic feasibility check on your prototypes, you don't understand how the future product will look like. So it's very important. And prototyping involves a lot of design. So just a shout out to folks who are still students in engineering. Design is something which is as important as technology. So somebody had asked questions like, uh, how much in-depth technical understanding do you need to have? Nobody asked questions for design, but I'm sure this is as important as understanding technology, because human beings are we are not machines. We respond very differently to different designs, and this is very crucial in a product building exercise. So everything in theory will be covered from technology, from design, and from business angles in the first 3 lectures. So for first 9 lectures. So there will be three lectures each. 3 lectures on technology that we are currently using, how apps are getting built, how new and better versions of mobile versions of an app are getting built. uh, 3 lectures on design, 3 lectures on the business part of it. How do uh, you know how do you differentiate between a product manager and a business analyst? Is, I think, a business analyst is a pure data person, but if you mix the person with the business sense, with the technology and the design sense, all packed into one person, I think that will be the product manager. So these are the 3 different pillars of product management, like design, technology, and business. So all these 3 will be covered in the first 9 lectures, and after that, lecture series will stop. And the 10th, 11th, and 12th session, 1 hour session each, will be on case studies. So all 3 lectures, you will be given a case study before. You will have solved the case studies and then come back. And then, since everybody would have solved the case studies on their own before coming to the the session, uh, when the questions and the answer session will happen, and the way of solving a case step by step will be shown in the lecture. I think people will understand how case studies ought to be solved. So this will go on for the next 3 hours. That totals us to 12 hours. The last 3 hours would be done with respective mentors on a one-on-one basis. So we have a network of product managers who are currently working in different companies. You will be assigned one mentor, and that mentor usually will talk to you, solve your problems one on one, because after the end of 12 sessions you will have got a clear understanding of what basic product management is all about, what is design in product, what is technology in product, what is business in product. And then eventually you would have a lot of questions and a lot of thoughts of your own. So just discuss them with your mentor. And what I've seen is that mentors are the best way to get a referral in a particular company. Your mentor could be from Paytm, and then if you feel like applying to Paytm, you could directly ask him to refer yourself. So the last three are most important, because in the last three there will be only mock interview process, preparations through your mentor, and doubt clearing sessions and understanding through one-on-one engagement. So this is a 15-hour program spread over 50 days. So you will have ample of time. Each week there will be mostly 2 classes.
Got it. Got it. Sounds pretty exciting. So I have given your so if you can send the email and WhatsApp, what we'll do is we'll email to everyone who has registered.
Sure.
And then interested people can reach out directly to you. I think especially I think what you said about the mentors, even I think it's very valid that mentors can really guide people in understanding what companies want from the candidate. And ultimately, if those mentors like you as as a mentee, getting a referral is very straightforward after that.
Yeah, exactly. And it helps both ways, because companies need people, and that's why they interview a lot of candidates. And it's not just that people who are listening to our session right now, they are just one side of the puzzle. So
right. Yeah, I mean, in hiring, I mean, there is always a talent crunch, and companies do want the best talent. And one way of signaling could be if somebody has taken on a mentee and they can see directly how they're learning. If you are able to directly observe that somebody is learning under you and they have come a long way in 2 months, that is a great signal that he will join my company and then also learn and pick up things and do things on his own.
Exactly. And this is why I've come back to this slide, that don't do the mistakes that everyone does, and that itself makes you stand on a higher pedestal than a lot of people. So there are plenty of ways of doing certain things. Just don't do mistakes which everyone does.
Got it. Great, Harshit. Thanks for joining in. Great to have you, and great session we had. Hopefully all the best with your program, and hopefully we can have some great product managers and product analysts coming out of the program soon.
Yeah, hoping for the same, man.
Okay.
Thanks a lot for this.
Thanks everyone for joining in. See you guys later. Bye.
Okay.